All right, we're on step 8, combat sales process, the pipeline execution and sales workflow. And so for our mission objectives, you can see here, we want to have a repeatable sales process and what that looks like, know when to move your leads through the pipeline stages, how to turn on the follow-up. We talked about that a little bit in the last step, but we'll briefly go over that again. And task management, ensuring that you follow up or talk or do things that you say you're going to do when you're going to do them. So when we come over to our system, we've got our dashboard. Let's start there with, hey, on the right side here, KPIs are important in making sure that you know what's happening when and you're getting revenue back through the door. You've got a date selector here. You've got things like new contacts, appointments, offers, and closed deals. This does not matter if it's real estate, detailing, home services. You need to know that you have new contacts coming through the door on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis. You're getting a set amount to an appointment, and then those appointments are actually being completed. You're going out and completing it and doing it. If you're making an offer for your product or service, how many offers are you making on a day, a week, a month? And be able to understand that if you're making 25 offers, from that you're getting 1, 2, 3 deals. You need to be able to do the backwards math. And then at the end of the day, how many did you actually close and bring revenue in? So this is what this is based off of in the system. In the system, the appointments are going to be based off of you setting an appointment in the contact card. I'll show what that looks like when we get in there. The updating of it being a showed appointment is where this will populate. If you make an offer, there's an offer section, and it's based off the date that you put in for your offer date. And then the closed deal section is based on the closing date field. So that's all in the contact card. For the calls that you're getting, this is just going to be a KPI dashboard real quick to be able to see how many first-time callers, what happened in the last 7 days, any outbound durations. So is it an average call, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Are you having really good conversations with people by team member? And then total places called by each team member. Incoming calls, you can scroll down and see that we got a little bit more there. And then your appointments. How many appointments did you have? By day, by week, stuff that's coming up, quarterly breakdown. Again, this is all about doing math and knowing if you make 30 offers, from that you're getting X amount of appointments that requires X amount of contacts or leads, and now you know exactly what needs to be done on a marketing basis. Inside of the contact, this is how you're going to run a repeatable sales process. So you have Smart List, everything is here. You can see this. You can add, you can get rid of some of these. Currently that's done under Manage Smart List. If you wanted to keep or get rid of or add, you can always do that. So we have the beginning of review your new leads, review the inbound communications. We already talked about in the other step, so you know how to do that. Next contact date, this is going to be based off of a next contact date in the contact card. So let me pull up a contact real quick. Okay, so we're going to click into this one and we're going to put a next contact date of today. When we go back to the Smart List side of things, you're going to want to refresh your screen or browser. And now you can see that we have 3 total. And if we go into next contact date, this is going to show just today's stuff. So if we go to filters, it's been a next contact date of less than a day ago, more than 1 minute ago, and that is currently how we can show just today's stuff. So if it's past due, you're not seeing it here. If it's in the future, you're not seeing it. If you want views around that, you can either create them or reach out to support and we can help with that. But this is made to keep you on task of today's stuff that you have a next contact date on. Now, as far as running your sales process, starting in the morning, it has always been my recommendation to go from a revenue first position. So what does that look like? Under contract, things that are closest to closing and bringing money into the company should be your first stop. So you're reaching out to title companies if it's real estate, you're reaching out to the sellers if it's real estate, making sure all the documents, all the things are ready to make that closing happen. For most of our home services and or detailers, you would be more under the offers made as a starting point, not under contract. When we come back down to here, this is going to be, hey, we made an offer. We gave a deadline, because I always put a deadline on an offer. And whether that's because we fill up, we have coupon codes that expire in a day, a week, whatever that looks like, there needs to be an expiration every time you give an offer. You don't just give a blind offer and let them come back and not have some type of consideration if it's been 2 weeks, a month, 2 months. That offer is no longer good. We need to talk about what it looks like to make a deal at that point. So once you've done the recent offers, anybody that's in offer follow-up, meaning they passed that deadline for the offer date, now reach back out to them. Maybe there's a new coupon, maybe there's a deal. If you book today, we're doing a 50% off. I don't know. Those are the things that you can do to make somebody take action. There always needs to be a deadline. There needs to be scarcity. You've got other avenues, other clients, other timeline requirements, whether it's actual clients or family. Understand that we need to have a sense of urgency and have them take action. Moving from the offers, I'd get over to your current appointment set. So in the system, you should have the next action move to appointment set if you have an appointment coming up. Again, I said I would show you how to do that. I will here in a second. Making sure that they're good. Now our system's set up to reach out 24 hours before, and then an hour before and 5 minutes before, there's emails, there's texts that follow up and touch base with them, assuming that you're setting appointments here in the system. If they completed it, mark it off as completed. If they showed or no showed, you can see some of the things in here. Reschedules, marking appropriately where things are. It's important so that you can keep track of your numbers, your KPIs, and know if you set 10 appointments, only 7 show typically. If you're getting only 4 showing out of 10, you know you have a problem. There's some type of expectation setting issue that you have that needs to be worked through in the sales process. Once you're through your appointments, get to your general follow-ups that you're just reaching out to, trying to get basic information, seeing if it's a fit for even doing business with them. And then you can kind of see we have due diligence and remove from list dead leads. For our real estate people, we're checking out the house. Does it make sense to do a deal? If it's a rental, we're looking at rent rolls, things of that nature. Remove from list, dead lead. Remove from list, somebody asks us to take them off the list. It's that simple. Dead lead is they said, if you call me again, XYZ is going to happen. They make threats and or there's just no possible way. We figured the numbers are just never going to work. We don't need to reach out to them again. Then it's truly a dead lead. Now, you see some others that are up here calling for more info. This is literally after we have them as a new lead, meaning they're brand new in the system and they're marked as a next action of new lead. We immediately reach out to them with a text, an email, a call. They get moved to a next action of calling for more info. And for that first week, we're just hammering the phones, the emails, the text, and trying to get a hold of them and updating the next action, or next contact, I should say, next contact field to tomorrow's date, later today, whatever you're going to do here, in making that stuff happen. Now, because you're using the next action fields, you can run it through the sales process without ever setting a task, technically. I would recommend if there's a certain date that you want to do something or a certain time that you want to do something, I would recommend using the task feature in the system and setting that appropriate time and date for whoever needs to do it. Inside of the system, over on the right side, you have your task feature here. If you click it, you can click add, you can enter in a task and then do a time of who's doing what and assign it to the appropriate person, create it. And now if you come up to the upper spot here, you'll have any of your tasks that are available. Now you can switch it to where it shows just your stuff. You can switch it towards just stuff that's due today, overdue, upcoming. There's different filters in here that you can run through if you want to do that. There is some additional settings that we go through in some other of our videos where there is a possibility of having an email sent of all of your tasks due for today at 8 a.m., 9 a.m. You can set the time of when that email comes out with all your tasks coming up for the day so that you know exactly who to reach out. And again, revenue first. Whoever's closest to revenue really should be the person you're reaching out to, unless there's really a time that they said they're only available from this time. Okay, makes sense. Reach out to that one. But if you're just touching up and following up on people, reach out to the ones that are closest to the revenue coming through the door. I'm going to go back into contact here in a second and show appointments. But we talked about a repeatable sales process right now. Know when to move the leads. We talked about that. You're moving it through the pipeline, through the sales process. Let me go in here and show you the next action drop down. So you're updating this field with the appropriate, you're clicking save, and then when you do that, that's what's moving it through these different lists. That's how you know who to touch base with on what day, at what time, things of that nature. If you're doing a task, you're setting a task, you're reviewing your task list every day to know exactly who you need to follow out and do what you say when you were going to do it. Okay, follow-ups. Let's do that real quick because we talked about that in our last video, but I just want to briefly show it. Our drop down here is how we turn on the follow-ups. Down below it is how we turn it off. The direct mail, same thing, turn on, turn off. That's how you're doing that thing right there. When you're doing your follow-ups and your attempts, you have your outbound attempt of when you're trying to reach out to them and what was the outcome. Did you talk to somebody? Did you leave a voicemail? No answer. Whatever happened there. Okay. Once you get a hold of them and you know you have the correct number, I would mark it off. Now you know that you have the correct number and you're reaching out to the right people, and you can filter based off of that, and you can spend your time reaching out to the people that you know have the correct numbers. Those types of things are available because of that. Task management we already talked about, so let's go back in real quick to the right side, appointments. You're going to add an appointment. Now this is under the assumption that you've already connected your calendar. You've already set up a scheduled link to where you can set up and pick a time, or they can pick a time on your calendar. You would go ahead and pick the appropriate calendar, type out, what client, what customer you're setting an appointment with if you're doing it for them. If they're doing it, there's a scheduling URL where they go to a website. They pick the time, they put in their name, it automatically creates it and blocks it out, and you get notified that they've picked the time. If you're doing it, this is where you go through, pick dates, times, things of that nature, and then book the appointment. And then when you come and do that appointment book, you'll want to go over to your next action field and go ahead and change it to appointment set at that point. So that would move it through the smart list to where if you were coming over to your smart list drop down and looking for appointments that are coming up, appointment set, it would show up there. It would show on your dashboard as you have an appointment set. And then when you go to the actual appointment, you would just update it that they showed, you completed it, things of that nature. All right, that'll get you through on our step number 8. We're going to move over to 9, and that'll have the calendar, kind of similar to what I was just talking about, for you to schedule and book a time that works for you. And then thereafter, we'll go over to step 10 and talk about what it looks like kind of moving forward.